from assistant principal at Cocoa Beach Junior Senior High School effective February 18th.
Thank you, Dr. Mullins. All right, that is going to bring us to the public comment portion of the meeting on agenda items specifically. Those of you not speaking specifically to agenda items will have your opportunity to speak later in the meeting. We're not skipping over you. We have got 11 speakers signed up for agenda items. One of our speakers, it is actually not an agenda item, so that speaker will be moved to the non-agenda item grouping. So that gives us 10 speakers, meaning each speaker will receive 3 minutes to speak this evening. Please note that the time limit is per speaker, not per agenda item. Topics not specific to agenda items will be moved to the non-agenda portion of the meeting. We have a clock in front of me to help you keep track of your time. When your time is over, you will be asked to stop and allow the next speaker his or her turn. Always keep in mind that reasonable decorum is expected and your statement should be directed to the board chair. The chair may interrupt, warn, or terminate a participant's statement when time is up. It's personally directed, abusive, obscene, or irrelevant. Should an individual not observe proper etiquette, the chair may request the individual leave the meeting. I'll call up 3 speakers at a time, and if you guys could kind of get on deck on this side of the room so that we can move through. First 3 speakers are Catherine Delaney, Terry Takacs, and Sarah Mursky.
My name is Katie Delaney, and I'm here to speak tonight about, I'm here to request that the loving guidance training for the teachers be removed from the schedule. This is $79,500 that is going to CRT training for our teachers. It goes right along with the Matthew Kincaid training that they got last year. This is continued racist training. If you go to the Conscious Discipline website, which is the people who run this training, it is very clear that this organization is far left. They have a whole page of their website dedicated to Ibram X. Kendi, a huge proponent of Marxism. This is a quote from him. The only remedy to racist discrimination is anti-racist discrimination. The only remedy to past discrimination is present discrimination. The only remedy to present discrimination is future discrimination. This man pushes hate. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said this: returning violence for violence multiplies violence. Adding deeper darkness to a night already void of stars. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. I'm switching gears because it was made clear today during the workshop that the language for H44 is too loose and needs further revision. This is not a black and white issue. This is a very gray issue. The language is too loose. We need clear language that's going to protect our girls and their sports. Girls all over the country are losing their scholarships because of biological boys going on girls' teams and getting their scholarships to college. Our mothers fought for decades to get women's rights. This is ridiculous. I just want to point out again, $79,000 for this teacher training, $1,500 per teacher. 3 teachers are assigned to go to this. That's not even 1 teacher per school. We looked on the website, $79 for the whole year could have gotten these teachers full access to everything. So why are we spending $1,500 per teacher to send them on a vacation? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Delaney. Mr. Cox?
Hello, thank you. I decided to bring a visual representation of today's agenda, which, when you go through everything, is 1,300 pages. Crazy, we get 1 week to go through this, which is where some of us found the seminar that Mrs. Delaney was just talking about. how is it expected that community members can go through this and see what's going on in our schools in 7 days? I mean, there's this science book from our district. There's a Bible that's 1,200 pages. And this is the agenda. It's just crazy to me that we're given 7 days to go through it, especially when things like this seminar are buried in it. When you go to the website of conscious discipline, there's critical race theory, there's Ibram X. Kendi, literally what our governor has told you not to do. That's what these teachers are going to be trained in. And I get it, it's not going to the kids, but the teachers are trained in it to implement it in the classroom. So I ask that for future notice, maybe we could get it earlier. I know you guys get it 14 days out, or maybe it could be smaller and more transparent. Thank you.
Thank you. As Sarah's approaching, our next three speakers will be Danielle Jackson, Amanda Martucci, and Stell Bailey. If you all wouldn't mind getting on deck. Sarah, whenever you're ready.
Yep. Good evening, Madam Chair and Board. Happy New Year. I'm Sarah Mirsky, taxpayer, registered voter, recent college grad, wife, and mom to 2 children. I'm in District 2 for School Board. I'm speaking on 4 agenda items tonight. Agenda item H41. I am glad that the school board is coming into compliance with their policy to align with state law on the Parental Bill of Rights. However, I am concerned about a lot of the language for this particular agenda item fitting along with federal language or laws. So I would actually like for this to be reviewed by our Attorney General, just to give our board guidance on that. I'm going to move on to agenda item G37B, the Loving Guidance Training. I'm confused as to why BPS staff would need this type of training. When I looked up the organization, I only saw mental health credentials for 1 person. I want to make sure this type of mental health training is unbiased and with all the trainers are licensed mental health professionals. This organization seems to be aligned with a partisan extremist political agenda. There are numerous examples of this on their website and on their social media pages. I want to know what the purpose of this training is, how it aligns with state and executive order, and the directives of the Florida Department of Education. Also, if this training is needed, to make sure our tax dollars go towards nonpartisan, well-qualified licensed mental health professionals for training for our BPS staff members and teachers. If someone could get back to me on this, I would appreciate it. H44, agenda item. Let's table this issue and see what our state attorney general's guidance on this is as well. Let's have our attorneys for the school board also study the Fairness in Women's Sports Act, F32. Let's make sure all of our tax money is going towards the correct things. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mirsky. Ms. Jackson.
Hi, good evening. I'm here to address the Apollo Imperial Estates rezoning on the agenda. I'm not going to stand here and reiterate what I wrote in my survey response. I trust that you guys all read those. I just want to emphasize that these kids have been through enough in the last couple of years, and there's no end in sight for this pandemic. The only constant my son and our family really has had for the last 2 years is the community he shows up to at school every day. I know you think the 2-year plan allows for some choice, but like most working parents, that is not the case for us. We rely on bus transportation. Families that rely on the bus will be put in a position to rely on other families for transportation, which would create a financial hardship, as in paying for carpooling gas money to other families that are taking my kids to and from school every day, in an economy that isn't getting any better either. At one point in my childhood, I was moved to 5 schools in 6 years, and I can tell you that it negatively impacted the social aspect of growing up. I promised my kids that they would not have to change schools and would grow up with the same friends and school staff they start with. Please consider not changing these boundaries, as there is no benefit from most of the proposed section in the district or the distance to either school, and both schools are overfilling and struggling to keep staff right now as it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Martucci?
First, good job on saying my last name. I did read an email, so I just want to touch base on some of the stuff I said. We live on the same street. My daughter is friends with her children, and we had an expectation that her children would watch out for my little girl in school. And then we hear the Apollo things changing to Imperial. If they have to leave, they already know the kids in the school. They already know the teachers in the school. They know where to tell her to go, and because I won't be there. So I just don't think that it's a good idea to change it to Imperial because we know nothing about that. Like she already reiterated, the children have been through enough on this year and these past 2 years, and it's just hard to go through all that. I also looked at some stats. The social economic stuff, Apollo has a better rating than Imperial States does for social economic. They do more. They have a higher rating scale for kids of lower income, lower families. They push more and they do more with that program. Imperial States is already struggling. So why put 50 or 100 more kids in their school when they are already struggling? Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. As Ms. Bailey is approaching, Charles Middleton, you are on the, you're signed up to speak under student discipline, which is not actually an agenda item that we're discussing this evening. There's no item associated with that, so you'll be moved to the non-agenda speakers. So our next three speakers will be Chelsea I'm not going to do such a good job with this name, I'm sure. Chelsea Parvianen, Jennifer Strafford, and then Sean Sema. Ms. Bailey?
Hi, my name is Stella Bailey. I'm here to talk on F33, which is about the formally used defense site and improving the right of entry form. I am the executive director of Fight for Zero, a nonprofit organization that works on environmental health here in Florida, and especially Brevard County. This is where I grew up. I worked on the Satellite Beach cancer cases, and I also played a pivotal role in getting the formally used defense site established and the investigation going in South Patrick Shores. I'm also a co-facilitator of a national PFAS contamination coalition and the community liaison for the Academy of Sciences. So I do a lot of work in environmental health, and in early 2019, we went to Washington, D.C., and we talked to Congressman Posey, showed him data, documentation, scientific evidence, testing results that we had did in the area concerning, toxins in the water, and we found PFAS, which is a forever chemical. It doesn't break down, and the reason why we call it a forever chemical is that it's still there after decades. We're working on Department of Defense contamination, and I just really, really want to, I know that you guys inherited this issue, that this is something that, decades ago, people did not address. And you have the opportunity to do something right and to get us scientific evidence and this community some closure by getting this information. We do know that children are most susceptible to environmental exposures. They take in more, they're developing, and they have multiple exposure pathways. So if we can just get answers on this situation, we don't want this lingering any longer. It's already gone on for way too long. The Department of Defense knew that these chemicals were dangerous, and we know that they have high pollution issues. Since the 70s, they knew that PFAS was a harmful chemical, and they continued to use it knowing that it was harming the environment and humans. The potential of exposure of toxins is there, but we won't know without scientific evidence, and we believe in getting the science behind this. We don't want this lingering, again, over the community of unknowing. This is our kids we're talking about. Fight for Zero does offer the school board an opportunity to collaborate as well. We are looking to get drinking fountains with filters into the schools, and we're trying to work on a project and proposing that this year. So please feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Thanks, Stella. All right, Chelsea?
All right, my name is Chelsea Parvianen, and I'm a concerned taxpayer citizen here in Brevard County. I've lived here my whole life and have seen a lot of changes. I address this room right now on the F32 and H44. I'm a former Vieira High School soccer player, and I can't imagine going against boys during my match. All my friends would have lost their college scholarships, by the way. So I'm here to address the George Soros money that is now here in our school board district. Okay, the George Soros money. Don't cut my mic, please. CRT's here, but Floridians are smarter than that. You can't divide us from race. We know it's about economics.
So Chelsea, I am going to interrupt you for just a second because I just need some clarity. I have you down for speaking on H44, which is our non-discrimination policy.
Okay.
And then you also said F32, which is actually a modification to our sales surtax plan. So if you could keep your comments focused on those two for me, okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So you follow the science, right? Not pseudoscience. You have to look at the science of the male anatomy when you are allowing them to play against women in sports. God made man and woman. That's facts. Just please stop the grooming of our children. And that's all I have to say.
Okay.
Infowars.com, check it out.
Thanks, Chelsea. Jennifer?
Good evening, Jennifer Stratford, residence, voter, also sophomore at Satellite High School. I just want to quickly address that I am speaking on the board policy 2266, sex non-discrimination based on sex. I ask that you guys table this until after it is further reviewed by our state attorney general's office for further clarification. Seems to be a lot of gray area, and I think it really needs to be more explained out before a decision is made. We don't want another Loudoun County situation in our district here where boys are competing on girls' teams, boys that feel like girls are going into girls' restrooms, and girls that feel like boys are going into boys' restrooms, and possibly putting our students and our children, since it's all about the safety and health of the students like you guys claim, let's really just table this until lawyers and attorney general's office have to further look at this and decide. Thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer. And as Sean is approaching, our last speaker for agenda items will be Michelle Beavers, reminding the rest of you that signed up to speak to non-agenda, you will be called at the end, okay? Sean?
Hey, thank you very much. I come in peace. I come to address the United States of America. February of 2016, my seemingly healthy 16-year-old daughter, who was an elite athlete and a cheerleader at Vieira High School, collapsed and died running on a treadmill. It's good news. I'm going to tell you. Thankfully, there were some people there that night that knew CPR, and they saved my daughter's life. My wife and I went to Orlando Medical Center, and we held hands, and we prayed over my daughter, and we begged God that if she would live, we would do everything in our power to pay it forward. July 19, 2016, I sent an email to our Brevard County School Board. Many of those members are no longer here. And I then met Mr. Matt Susan, who is an absolute powerhouse. I lived in District 4.
Hey, Sean, I'm just going to ask you, keep it focused on the board as a whole for me, okay?
Okay,
Thank you.
But
You're
I
good.
do want to lead up to it. I'm going to say real quick, I stood before this board and y'all passed a Cpr and Aed policy that led to us going to the state of Florida, and we've passed 3 state laws. We've passed 1 national resolution and CPR. I stood next to my daughter May of 2017. And I pointed out that because those gentlemen that night acted in a gym, I would one day watch my daughter get married and have a baby and graduate high school. Well, that happened. My daughter's a wife. She's going to be a mother. And that's because somebody acted. You all acted. You that policy, an EKG policy, Is that me that's beating like that? But that policy was the first policy in the United States of America. And now we have a policy, a law that's in front of the Florida State Legislature. That law in Brevard County has saved 40 kids' lives. A kid in your district who was found to have the deadliest heart condition that his friends knew what to do when he collapsed and died, and they saved his life. This is the safest in the United States. There's a lot of you all and your bravery. I know that when my kid gets off the bus, that he's going to have work to do. We need to update some policy. Thank you, and I want to say this publicly.
Thank you, Sean.
That really be thankful for the safety that you do provide our kids. The number one on campus
Sean,
is correct.
Thank you. Michelle.
Beavers. I'm going to talk a little bit about the AED policy. My first started, the littlest one started in school. Because I wrote letters to Health First and got one donated. There's a that runs in our family. So although we have it in high school, we're to consider having it in all schools, and especially charters. The charters are overlooked. They're kind of considered the black sheep of the family. The other schools are gifts, and charters have to purchase them themselves. I don't think it's very fair for the parents who have their children in these schools. And if you're wondering where that money could come from, if you didn't do that $79,000 training, you could use that money to put in AEDs to these schools, which would be a great idea because it's not just the kids at risk, it's all of our teachers and principals and staff who use these things. That's pretty much it. I would like you to consider revising your AED policy to include all these elementary schools and all these charter schools that don't have them. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Okay, that is going to move us to the consent agenda. Dr. Mullins.
There are 25 category.
Thank you, Dr. Mullins. Does any board member wish to pull any item from the consent agenda? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Move to approve.
Moved by Ms. McDougall, seconded by Ms. Campbell. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0. All right, Dr. Mullins, will you please let us know about the items under action?
Yes, Madam Chair, there are 6 items under this category. The first one is on Katie Campbell's FSBA travel confirmation.
What are the wishes of the board?
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Susan, seconded by Ms. McDougall. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Is that an aye, Mr.?
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Kinda came out.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0. Mr. Gibbs, do we have to have public comment on Ms. Campbell's travel?
I think it was
Not in my script.
Well,
before it is approved,
Okay.
you can, so
Okay.
if they had an opportunity right before.
love you, but
All right, Dr. Mullins.
The next item is on procurement solicitations.
What are the wishes of the board?
move to approve.
second.
Moved by Mr. Susan, seconded by, I think I heard Ms. Campbell. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0. Dr. Mullins,
The next action item is on department school-initiated agreements.
what are the wishes of the board?
Move to approve. Second.
Moved by Ms. Jenkins, seconded by Ms. McDougall. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0. Dr. Mullins?
Your next action item is to hold a public hearing and approve the secondary mathematics textbook adoption.
Is there anyone present this evening who wishes to address the secondary mathematics textbook adoption? Anyone present this evening who wishes to address the secondary mathematics textbook adoption? Hearing none, do I have a motion from the board?
I shall move.
Ms. McDougall moves to approve. Is there a second? Seconded by Ms. Campbell. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0. Dr. Mullins?
The next action item is to hold a public hearing and approve the elementary mathematics textbook adoption.
Is there anyone present this evening who wishes to address the elementary mathematics textbook adoption? Is there anyone present this evening who wishes to address the elementary mathematics adoption? Board, I will entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Moved by Ms. Campbell. Second. Seconded by Ms. McDougall. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0. Dr. Mullins?
The last action item is to hold a public hearing and approve the attendance boundary proposals for school year 2022, 2023, and 2023, 2024.
Is there anyone present this evening who wishes to publicly address the attendance boundary proposals for school year 2022, 2023, and 2023, 2024? Is there anyone present this evening who wishes to publicly address the attendance boundary proposals for school year 2022, 2023, and 2023, 2024? All right, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion from the board. Moved by Ms. Campbell, seconded by Ms. McDougall. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0. All right, we will move on to the information agenda, which includes items for board review and may be brought back for action at a subsequent meeting. No action will be taken on these items tonight. Dr. Mullins?
There are 20 items under the information category.
Does any member wish to discuss any of the information items? All right. Does any board member have board member reports?
Have one after Ms.
Can I
McDougall.
vote?
Absolutely. You're vice chair.
So funny.
So, I just want to bring to people's attention that,
Your mic.
oh, I forget. Darn. I just want to bring to people's attention that this, from Misty Bland, Director of Alternative Sites, she put out a memo to remind people that it is the National Human Trafficking Prevention Month. And according to Florida Department of Education, I don't know if we all know this, Florida is the third in the nation for reporting human trafficking cases. So as a collaborative effort with our ESF departments working together to offer age-appropriate curriculum and instruction for students K through 12, as directed by the State Board of Education, Rule 6A-1.094-124 FAC, I just want to let people know that this is an issue that I think many of us know and are familiar with, but I wanted to bring attention that this is National Human Trafficking Prevention Month. And I have a telephone number that you can reach out for if you should need it, and for a hotline if anybody wants to see me afterwards for the hotline number. But I just thought we should bring that to people's attention.
Thank you, Ms. McDougall. Ms. Susan?
Yeah, I just, I wanted to, so Mr. Sema came in here and he was speaking, right? And he's very emotional and his speeches get me emotional. And I don't think some things came across that I think he wanted to say. So I was going to say them for you, Sean. He has passed 3 laws on his own in Tallahassee. Representative Latvala, who is the chairman of the Education Committee, said that he is the most effective lobbyist in Tallahassee, and he does it for free. There is nobody more passionate about an issue, but there's also nobody more effective at getting things across the finish line. He came to us, and it's us. Thank you for the shout out to me, but they're part of the board is what made it happen. And we did something spectacular. And now it's moving across the state. There are people literally saving lives of individuals across the state of Florida for what you do, Sean. Not many people understand that there's something that just broke recently. The cost of a child, when they have a heart attack and are transported, is in between $250,000 to $500,000 worth of cost to both the family, the providers, and everything else. That's a massive thing that insurance companies don't want to pay. And instead, what he did was engage the insurance companies over in Orlando And they actually have insurance carriers that are now going to add to their insurance policies a wellness check that includes an EKG test. I mean, to say that you're saving lives is one thing, Sean, but like to literally get insurance carriers to come out and say that they're going to do this to support you and the efforts of helping our children is incredible. He's now working with our district to put together our EKG response policies and everything else like we talked about the other day. But the reason I said all that is because the reason he's here today is not because he wants to be bragged about or tell us about how great we are. He wants EKGs for the whole state of Florida. And that's what he's here for today. And we found it to be one of the most prolific things that saved kids' lives. And we now have people in Tallahassee that don't think that this is a good idea. Like, hey, we should just make it optional and kids die. Literally, Sean is on a text, and every time I look at it, I cringe because it's either great things or something that happened across the state. The same people that say that we don't need it to be that they don't need it and it can be optional and they don't have it in their school district have kids dying, and it's sick. It's literally wrong. And I want to thank you, Sean. I'm going to put my full force efforts behind working with you to get that thing across the finish line. And if we don't get it again, we'll keep going until we do. And more of the school district, Orange County, Suwannee County, us, Osceola County, many have all signed on. Citrus is on the line, Sarasota's on the line, Charlotte's on the line, they're all moving. And it's the most important thing is saving these children, and you get credit, but we have work to do. So if part of what you guys say, even though it wasn't on the option, is to push this, we can do it, and we can save lives. And we're the first, right? I like being the first, Sean. First in the nation to have that policy. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Susan. Was tickled to see Sean show up this evening because I had a Facebook memory that popped up this week from the Heart Conference, Sean. And the young lady that spoke, her brother was the one with the heart condition. Such a dynamic young woman and doing great work alongside you. So it was funny when you showed up tonight. I was like, that's ironic. So thank you for the work you do. All right. All right, any other board discussion items? Dr. Mullins, do you have a superintendent's report?
Wait.
Oh, sorry, Ms. Campbell. I didn't mean to skip you.
I know we got the email about all county concerts. Sorry to be the beat the music drum tonight, haha. But next weekend is all county weekend, and so if you guys can come to at least one concert, you will just be thrilled. The chorus concert, I believe, is in the early afternoon, and then the orchestra concert in the late afternoon, and that night the band concert featuring the best of the best across Brevard in all three of our music performance areas. So you guys take advantage of Ms. Orr and let her know if you'd like to come. It's going to be a great week.
And Ms. Campbell, maybe we can just have staff follow up with us after the meeting, but I think because I was going through my calendar last night, I think we had to request tickets by the 14th, so.
Well, some of us missed the deadline and got some anyway.
Okay, so we will reach out and see what can be arranged. Thank you very much for bringing that up. We appreciate it. All right, Dr. Mullins, Superintendent Report?
I don't have a full report, but I did want to add to our accolades earlier this evening of our career and technical education and trades programs across the district. You know, some recognitions were made in haste, and we need to center our appreciation and commendation where Dr. Sullivan, Secondary Leading and Learning Assistant Superintendent, her team, under her leadership, Rachel Rutledge, Grace, I never get Grace's last name, Grace, Savetic, that's it. Grace is the workplace-based coordinator and is continually working in our community. Rachel Rutledge, you remember her, a dynamic gal who came and shared about our CTE programs probably, I don't know, half a year, 6 months ago. I'm out in the community a lot, but I'm almost beat by them. And they're just out all the time. Met with EDC last week, talked with manufacturing companies about how they can partner with our programs. Just great work going on behind the scenes, making opportunities available for our kids. So had to give those shout outs as well. So thank you.
There's one more. Janice Schultz, who retired, that built all of the footprint for what we have. So she deserves the credit there too.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Anything else? All right, then we are going to be moving into our non-agenda public comments. Each speaker is limited to 1 minute. We have a clock in front of me to help you keep track of your time. When your time is over, you'll be asked to stop and allow the next speaker his or her turn. We'll hear from the speakers in the order up and maybe waiting outside, although I see seats this evening. As stated earlier, reasonable decorum is expected at all times, and your statement should be directed to the board chair. Should audience participation interfere with speakers being heard or hearing me, I'll be forced to clear the room. When I call your name, please line up along the east wall of the boardroom to facilitate the smooth transition of speakers. And we will begin with our first 3 speakers, Catherine Delaney, Sarah Mirsky, and Bernard Bryan.
My name is Catherine Delaney. I'm here to ask about, just because I didn't have enough time before, this is a $500,000 service that it's not outlined what it is. So I've emailed, I'd like to know specifically what services warrants a $450,000 difference from our previous year. Secondly, if and when the Stop Woke Act gets passed in legislation, that training that you all just approved will be against that. So now you're opening us up again to, I just hope that you guys stop wasting our money, please. Thank you.
Thanks, Katie. Sarah?
Sarah Mirsky again. I want to speak on the current encouragement of mask wearing. It seems that it is currently against the law to, quote, strongly encourage mask wearing at the district level of any kind. It is squarely at the parent's sole discretion, as your current mitigation plan for the second semester also suggests to, quote, strongly consider taking the COVID-19 vaccine. I strongly consider the district and the school board not give medical advice unless they are licensed to practice medicine in Florida. I strongly encourage the school board to come into compliance with the state law and the directives for the Florida Department of Education. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. As Mr. Bryan's approaching, our next 3 speakers will be Clinton Branch, Ronald Shaw, and Chris Bird. Mr. Bryan.
Thank you, board, for allowing me to speak today. I just want to thank Sean for what a powerful testimony of kids that are being saved. But I also want to let the board know that other children need help as well. Just wanted you to be aware that I spoke with a young senior student about 12 months ago. She said, Mr. Bryan, I had my first black teacher when I was in 12th grade. So can you imagine being in the Brevard public school system, seeing your first black teacher? I want to just talk about diversity. When I look at the overall black population, they are about 15% of the population. Right now, the Brevard County school system has only around % of black teachers. In the administration, you only have 3%. Though our kids need to see diversity.
Thank you,
very
Mr.
much.
Bryan. We appreciate Brant.
Good evening. I'm a believer in Jesus Christ here, and I'm going to speak from that point of view. I don't know if there are other believers up there, but I do want to make a point here. I've got my Bible, something that's missing desperately from our school system. I understand it can be taught in the school as long as you adhere to certain pretty strict rules, but you can teach the Bible in public school. So I just bring that forth. Please consider that in the future. When we gather together in the morning, many of us spend time praying for you all. Our prayer focus is that God would give you the wisdom to make the right decisions for our children and our future, because we all have a responsibility, and you have a particular responsibility. We're losing generation. What I can say is there's a difference between right and wrong, and pointing that out is not hate speech or domestic terrorism.
Thank you, Mr. Branch. We appreciate that and the prayers. Mr. Shaw?
Good evening. I'm Ronald Shaw, the first Vice President of the Brevard Alliance of Black School Educators, also known as Brevard ASPE. Brevard ASPE is affiliated with the National Alliance of Black School Educators, the nation's premier nonprofit organization devoted to furthering the academic success of our nation's children, particularly of African descent. We are celebrating our 5th year of being organized in Brevard County this month. We have sponsored various events throughout the county, Teacher Appreciation Week at Emma Jewell School, Southwest Middle School, Madison Middle School, Financial Aid and Literacy Night at Cocoa High School, support needy families during holidays, back to school drives at Gulfview Elementary, Sherwood Elementary, Cocoa High, Head Start. We meet every 4th Monday of the month at 6:30. For more information, we can be emailed at brevardabse@gmail.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. As Chris is approaching, our next 3 speakers will be Stephen Rainey, Michelle Beavers, and then Charles Middleton. Chris?
Good evening, Chris Bird, District 2 parent. I would like to draw attention to something that I've emailed you all. This was back in end of October, beginning of November. I was asking a question about closing the achievement gap using CDOs and referred you to an article on research conducted by the Heritage Foundation using findings from the National Assessment of Educational Progress and the National Center for Education Statistics. They looked at, over the course of 10 years, all schools who have hired chief diversity officers over the course of 10 years. Not only did they not close the achievement gap, it actually widened. So I sent those articles. I asked for statistics showing what evidence we had that this would improve the achievement gap. Dr. Mullins did reply, but what he sent me was not what I asked. And I did email you 2 more times, and I'm just requesting more information.
Thank you, Chris. Stephen Rainey? Give them a hand.
There's many more that would be here and expressed interest here. They still run route. My name is Mark Rainey. I'm a member of or constituent of Matt Sussman's area, and I'm one of the 323 remaining bus drivers that we have. Our bus drivers drive 6,900 route miles a day. They average about 103 miles a day. That's 6.5 million miles a school year, and they deliver 1/3 of your registered students. That's 5,200 stops between all the drivers per day, delivering 24,000 students a day. Okay? The national average for the $1 an hour. We're not here asking for a raise for them. We're here to ask you to consider a starting pay average that will allow us to recruit and retain and keep retention. Yes, it may affect them, but we need to be able to recruit more drivers. We're 60 drivers short. It is a bus driver crisis. It is not coming, and it's not going. It is full-blown and today. That I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rainey. Michelle Beavers? Okay, super. Thanks, Michelle. Charles Middleton?
Hello, I'm Charles Middleton. I have a PhD in laser physics, and I'm the genius who couldn't figure out the agenda correctly. So thanks for this amount of time. I'm also a CTO of a small business that has hired an intern from Brevard Schools, and we're incredibly happy. It worked out great, and I advocate that for everybody. I'd like to briefly talk about the school discipline and disproportionality among students of color. We've seen some real progress as we've implemented a district-wide discipline program and gone from a risk ratio of students of color being 3 times as likely as white students to be suspended to better numbers now, but there's still a lot of work to do, and other metrics that we should be tracking to understand how the progress is being made and where we need to focus. And I look forward to working with the board and getting the data public and seeing how we can best help all of our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Middleton. Feel free to reach out to any of us, okay? All right, that concludes our non-agenda public speaking. The board wishes to thank this evening's speakers. Your willingness to speak to us is very much appreciated. Anyone have anything else for the good of the order?
Real quick.
Mr. Susan, you know I already have the gavel in my hand,
I did,
right?
that's why I caught it. There was a lot of concern about the conscious discipline, just so everybody knows it this summer. So if there's an opportunity for us to get conscious disciplines curriculum, what they're going to present, that we can make sure. We've made a dedication to our people that we will not teach CRT inside of our schools, and we won't do it in any of the trainings. So that has been said, that is state law. So we will make sure of that. Just so you guys know, it doesn't start until July. Plenty of time to review those things. And the Maxim Healthcare staff, which was the one that did the staffing, there was some allegations that they might be work with other corporations. So I'm just going to ask Paul to work with me on making sure that that's good. That's all. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Susan. Anything else for the good of the order? Good night.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm happy to welcome my fellow board members